Hi there, this is Clovis from Kinematic Lab. In this video I'm going to explain how to use the network object. So let's go in the UI Toolkit interface and in the others or all category. So here we have the network button, so I'll left click here and then I left click in my viewport and my network is created. So I right click to stop the creation. I will close this UI and go to the modify panel. So what do we have here? Basically the network object is just a bunch of vertices. So what you have to know is that only vertices can't really be selected, okay, inside Max, so it's pretty difficult to select it. So it's like the object have no existence or almost no existence. So the easiest to select it or pick it is to go in the Scene Explorer and select it. Okay. So that's one thing. Then you have this display button. So because it's just vertices, you can't see them in the viewport. So you have a display option here to show them, and you can change their colors. Okay, but it's just display, just to help you visualize what's happening. And then here in the network rollout, you have some options. So the first one is line, then you can make a grid, okay, a circle, spiral. You can scatter these vertices on a spline or make a sphere, okay, with some difference, a hemisphere. Okay, let's go back to the line. And in the parameters here you have all the parameters controlling this type. So you have the parameters controlling the line here, controlling the grid, the circles, spirals. So depending on what you choose here, you have some parameters appearing there, and so on. So for example, for the line you can change the number of points here, okay. You can change the length, you can center it, you can change the width here, which is basically the position in y-axis, you can change the height and z-axis, and you can slide it. So I'll go through all these types and show you all the parameters. So on the grid you can change the counts here, the length, you can center it, that's pretty much the same, okay. Change the y count here, okay, you see the difference between them. The width, you can center it again, you can center both. The height, okay. You have a percentage from 0 to 100, so basically depending on which length you have here, this parameters is a percentage of this length. Okay, you can slide it, and you can say each two lines you slide in a different way. Okay, you invert the direction. Let's go to the circles. Okay, that's the same. You can change the number of vertices here, the length here, change the radius. You can have multiple circles, and this width change the outer circle. So this one of course changes the inner circle. You can change the height, the percentage go from -100 to 100, okay, so you can go backwards to fill the circle. The slide makes it rotate, and each, like in the grid, okay, makes the direction change each two circles, or each 3, 4, 5, etc. The spiral, okay, it's going to be similar. So you have the number of dots. The length here is the main radius. The width is the number of turns. Well, not really the number of turns, but the rotation to make the spiral. The height, the percentage makes it grow from 0 to 100 to fill the whole spiral, okay? And the slide makes it slide like that. Now let's create a spline in my scene, and I will show you the line option. So if I select the spline option, you don't see any dots. Now you have to pick a spline with this button, and now you see them again. So you can change their count. Okay. You can have more lines like that and change their width. This lens value only change the let's say the width of the last line. Okay. This make all these lines move like that. Okay, along the spline tangent. The height makes it move in the axis. Percentage, of course, makes it grow. The slide makes these dots slide along the spline. And if you choose each value here, you can have the direction changes, like you have in the circle, the grid, etc. And last, the sphere option. So this one, you have 3 options here. So let's increase the count. So the first options is like a classic sphere in Max. Okay, the second one is much more like a geosphere. So the distribution of dots is more regular. Okay, and you can make an hemisphere like that. Okay, depending on the type of sphere you've chosen. The length changes the radius of the sphere. The count can make multiple spheres. Okay, and you can change the radius of the inner sphere and the outer sphere. Okay, with the width and length value. And the height basically make these dots move along their normal direction. Okay. The slide value makes them rotate around the z-axis. So now let's talk about the time parameters and go back to the line. Okay. Okay. So you have some options here to change basically the animation of all these parameters. Okay, so you can animate, let's say I animate the width value, so I will add some keyframes. Okay, so now my whole line is doing this movement. Okay, but if I change the offset value, okay, just a little bit, you see that I can see a better animation now. So basically it takes this animation, the animation of the width that I did, and it offset it along each dot. Okay. So you can force it to be animated or not. With checking this option, it is going to be animated, but if you uncheck it, it's going to stay static. So just change this value to make it happen when you need. Okay. Okay, so I have this animation, and I can also random this offset value. So it's not going to be faster or slower, but it's just make some randomization of this. Okay, but that's pretty cool. And you can also random the speed. So basically, if I change this, some of them are going to be to do this animation faster than others. So this is regular, and if I see that some of them are going slower and some of them are going faster. And you can, of course, use all these options together. So let's apply a noise float on the width parameter. So I have my noise float. I'll reduce that and increase this. Okay. So if I play the animation, you see that it replicates this one. Okay. If I uncheck animated, it stays static. Okay. So I really can change its speed using this offset. Randomize it, change its speed, have some randomizations here. Okay, that's pretty cool. And now let's talk about the offset by row and offset by dots. So this is not going to be working in the line because it needs to have more copies of that. So I will use the grid in this case. I will remove my animation. And I have my grid. So now if I animate something like, you could animate the width, you could animate the 8, the percentage even, the slide. Let's animate the slide, it's gonna be cool. So I will add a noise float again. Okay, I have a nice slide. And if I just slightly change this value, okay, I will make it slower. Okay. I will uncheck these two options. So for now, this is happening in the whole grid, but if I check this, you see that the animation is now offsetted along each row like that. Okay, so each of this row have its own speed. You see that all these dots are going the same speed and having the same animation. Okay, now if I uncheck this but check this one, it's going to be per line. Okay, and if you check both, it's going to be these two options, but in addition. So you can make pretty cool animations with that. and you still can, you know, randomize it. Randomize its speed also. Etc. And you can do that in every type, okay, every type of network. So if you have a circle, let's make more circles. Okay, it's now moving pretty naturally. Okay, that's pretty cool. But at the beginning, it's just doing a rotation like that because that's my slide value, which is animated. So it's just making a rotation. But if you offset it by row, you can see it's only moving along these dots like that. Okay, by dots. You see the difference, and you can make an addition of these two effects, randomize them again, randomize their speed. Okay, if you change, for example, the each value here, so you can see that it takes different rotations like that, different directions. You can have some pretty cool animations, and you can animate all of these parameters and change their time offset with that. So it's going to be the same on spiral, and it's going to be the same on the spline. For example, here I have my spline selected. I will add more dots now. So this is the slide value animated here. I will just change it. I don't want to animate the slide, but the percentage, for example. The slide is going to be back to Bezier. The percentage is going to be from 0 to 100. Fine. So I still can slide it, okay, of course. So I have my line growing, and I can change the offset. So if I remove some of them here and add more copies here, you can see what I'm doing. Okay, it's pretty much the same effect that I had on the circle. Okay, it makes a delay along the copies like that. And you can randomize, etc. And you can do the same for the sphere. Okay, I'm going to animate the slide in this case. So let's see what's happening. So I have my slide happening now. Maybe it's too much. Okay, so if I remove some dots and just change the offset, okay, now it's rotating, but it's like a natural twist. Okay, and if you make some copies, you have some pretty good animations too. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that you need to know is that because these are only vertices, they are still an object, so you can add some modifiers to it, like bend, twist, or anything you want. So that's really up to you. And in the next videos I'm going to show you how to use the network dots and network stripes. So basically these two objects are going to be used for rendering this, because for now this is just vertices, so you can't really render it. But what is going to be cool is that these dots and stripes objects also have animation parameters. So on top of these moving dots, you could animate the dot shape, the dot rotations, the dot scale, and a lot of things. That's it. See you in the next video.